Welcome back to the program. Tuesday, the 28th of February. Channels Television in partnership with the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry on this business round table. Let me introduce our panelists, and of course we'll spend about 1 minute, then we throw this to the discussants, all members of the chamber and chief executive officers of the various organizations. Okay, we'll talk about the much expected national economic recovery plan that the Buhari's administration has been putting together for the past few months. The date for the launch has been shifted a number of times. It was initially scheduled for the month of February. Unless that takes place before the end of today, that means that that document is being moved till the new month of March, and that comes in less than 24 hours from now. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Let's start with Judge Onofowokan, who is a member of the chamber, and as well as the chief executive officer at Coleman Wires and Cables. About 1 minute. Are you expecting this national economic recovery document? If yes, why? And what would you like to see in it?
Definitely, we would expect a document to come out at any point in time, whether now, whether tomorrow. There's always documents. I think we always in Nigeria keep formulating documents on the National Vision 2020, National Economic Recovery Program. I think we all stopped counting how many programs we keep coming up with. Now, for me, the focus is not about how many programs we come up with, it's how we implement them. I think implementation is more important than actually coming up, sitting up and writing our programs, taking up business people's time and coming up with these.
Perhaps something will be different in this particular document.
I think for me, if they have to come up with something different, first I would like to see what they would do for the industrial sector. Now, in terms of positive growth, fiscal policy that would actually enable the industry to grow, that I think is key factor, because you see there's a mixed match when you're trying to put a policy together and you don't have a balanced monetary policy against your fiscal policy. Now, fiscal policy is controlled by the government, monetary policy is controlled by the CBN. Now, when you have mixed match, which we've had for the past 2 years, I think we have a problem. Now, what I want to see come out of that is that they should stop having a mismatch. Now, we need to have a synchronized fiscal and monetary policy.
You just speaking the minds of the latest IMF statement about Nigeria, saying we need a credible and coherent critical fiscal, monetary and policies, structural policies before the next elections, which is just around the corner, 2 years to be precise. Tunji, let's Tunji Falade, talk to us about this National Economic Recovery Plan. In terms of agriculture or your group within the LCCI, what do you want to see in this document anytime it's unveiled?
Okay, going straight to the point, I think the first thing I want to look at is the policy on funding and finance. Right now, like I said to you, agri contributes 22% to the GDP, but it's only get 2% funding. That is scandalous.
In terms of budgetary allocation?
Budgetary allocation and even access to funds from banks. They don't get funds from banks. Farmers, I mean, both farmers and processors and those in the value chain. For instance, one of the areas they have to fund, apart from the actors themselves, I'm still coming to that, is research institutions. For instance, if you look at Malaysia, they came and picked palm oil early 60s, and they've developed 26 products. Who are the people that did it? It's the research institutions. They are the ones that research on how made innovations. And all. Cassava, Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava. What have we made out of it? How many products do we have?
You think the FIRO, should they still function?
Well, FIRO is just...
I haven't been there. I haven't been there in ages.
FIRO is not still functional. FIRO is just still functional. It's one out of several research institutions that don't get funding, and therefore they cannot come up with innovations. They cannot come up with products, byproducts from a particular crop. So now coming to the actors themselves, honestly, I tell you, banks doesn't seem to understand agro-allied industry very well. Our fallen victim of that, where we're given, I think, 22% of what we asked for, even though we're qualified. But when I took them up, somebody confirmed and said they don't understand. I said, why? They should go and learn about it.
The bankers don't understand. They don't understand mining. They don't understand that.
Honestly, because I mean,
so why are they in the business of?
I don't know. Now, so they, for instance, there are a lot of youth. There are a lot of youth out there.
Commended every year for lending well to the.
Oh well, maybe to certain big multinationals and those big one chunk money, 100 billion to We're talking about sponsoring 5,000 projects. The youth, for instance, they're all over the place. They're energetic. A lot of them can be involved in, because it's a composite array. You have, like I said, production, you have processing, you have storage, you have marketing and all that. Let them have a policy through the central bank whereby anybody in agriculture can walk into any bank without knowing the MD or the ED and get facility based on certain template. For instance, they could say credit portfolio of so should go to them. But it should not be a case whereby you say a bank just goes and gives 100 billion to one multinational and say, okay, if we met our target. No. It could be something like 1,000 projects or 500 projects per state or per, let there be template. So once you meet the template, then you can access funds. Because without funds, you can't start anything. Even when you've started without funds, you cannot expand. Without funds, your business can even collapse. And people are not getting access to funds. So that's an area I want the government, through the CBN. The CBN should make it mandate for commercial banks. All these intervention funds, well, I don't want to talk too much about it. Let's talk about even the regular funds available in commercial banks. I should be able to walk in anywhere and get the funds that I need for my project.
Dr. Ikena, what's your view on this National Economic Recovery Plan?
It's late in coming. That's number one. Secondly, I expect it to be focused on short and medium term. It's not supposed to be a long-term thing because the tenure of the government has about 2.5 years to go. It's a recovery plan. Thirdly, the process. That document they want to bring out, it ain't going to work if it does not include in the collaborative process, open and transparent, the joint venture between the organized private sector, the unorganized private sector, and the government coming together to jointly define the problems and fashion the solution. Okay. That is one of the reasons why Vision 2020 remains an enduring document today, because it was collaborative. As it relates to the maritime sector, and if I may say, the reason why I said that there will be a joint ownership of the process, its outcomes, and the benefits. As it relates to the maritime sector, what I expect to see in the short and medium term in that recovery plan, the access roads to every single seaport and airport in this country have to be fixed, because including Abuja Airport, there is no single airport or seaport in this country with optimal access roads. Not one. And all must be fixed in 30 days. Number two, get custom officers off the road. If you cannot fix your problem in the seaport, don't disturb any cargo that comes outside. It demarcates our country as an investment destination. Number three, all shipping and terminal operators in this country must follow best practice in regulation. The Nigerian Shippers Council should be empowered as the economic regulator of the maritime sector, because there is none. Why do I emphasize it? Government in this country, since independence, has always emphasized too much on the upstream and the downstream aspects of investment, and they leave the midstream. The midstream is the power sector, access of trade facilitation, including the shipping, the trucking, the customs, and all that. So that midstream, you can see that gap over the years has made power deficit and has made our country not to be a very good place for transshipment of cargo, and cargo clearance is a major problem. So I expect that document to speak to
thank you very much. I'm going to take about 2 minutes of your time to get Mrs. Olajumoke Afashanu, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Ruby Royal Housing, into this. Give us about 2 minutes of your thoughts, as it were, on this National Economic Recovery Plan. What do you want to see about housing in this new document anytime soon when it comes out?
Thank you very much. Number one, the previous year's report of contribution from the real estate sector to the GDP was rated at 7.5. A lot of the stakeholders were complaining that that's not really reflective, it's not the actual figures, because till now I'm not sure anything has been done about at least including the real estate sector as a formal sector. A lot of it is still very, very informal. And when you look at the housing deficit, the World Bank has stated that we need 59.5 trillion naira to be able to catch up with the deficit. That's at 3.5 million per each housing. We know it costs more than that to develop any kind of house at all. Now, they said we need to develop and deliver on a yearly basis 1 million housing units. Now, what does that say to us? What we're saying is it's obvious that the government still do not really understand how to take real estate and turn it into a commodity.
Mrs. Fashion, I'm going to respectfully cut in there very quickly. We need to take a break. But I'm going to start from you when we come back after the break for the final lap of the program. We all work and live in Lagos. So I'm going to ask a very simple question for everyone here. What does it mean to work and live in Lagos?